Okay, let's talk about something we all do, but almost never think about. It's this quiet, really powerful assumption most of us have about learning, an idea that's so natural we barely even notice it's there. So, let me ask you this. Do you ever get that feeling of being rusty about something you were once an expert in? A language used to speak, a formula you had memorized, a skill that was just total second nature? It's that super frustrating feeling where you know you knew it, but ugh, it's just not there anymore. Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't a failure on your part? It's not a sign that you're losing your edge or that your memory is going. It's actually a clue. It's pointing to a much deeper truth about how our brains are literally designed to work. And it all starts with this big idea. Let's call it the myth of finished. This is the unspoken belief that real, serious learning is some kind of project that you can and honestly should complete, that it has a finish line. And what's so fascinating is you can see this myth everywhere in our own language. Just think about the words we use. We say we learned something, right? Past tense. It's done. A subject in school is covered. A skill is mastered. A training course is completed. A degree is awarded. It's all language of arrival. Like you've reached a destination and the journey is just over. And this really gets to the core problem with that whole model. See, if you believe learning is a one-time thing, then having to go back and review something feels like a failure. It forces you to ask, wait, if I learned this successfully the first time, why on earth would I need to repeat it? We see it as proof that something must have gone wrong. So, if this model is so flawed, why do we cling to it so tightly? Well, it turns out this myth isn't just some simple mistake. It's actually serving a really important purpose. It gives us a deep sense of comfort. Let's just break this down for a second. First, it gives us psychological rest. I mean, come on, the idea that learning is truly endless is exhausting. A finish line promises some closure. It also gives our society structure. You can't have milestones like graduation without a finish line. And it protects our identity. Saying, I know this, feels so much more stable and confident than saying, I am learning this. And finally, it just fits our basic model of how work works. We expect that when a job is done, it stays done. But here's the thing. This nice, comfortable model has a huge problem. Over time, it just starts to fall apart. It develops these deep cracks in its foundation because it just doesn't match up with our actual lived experience. Just think about how this plays out over a typical lifetime. When you're a student, knowledge feels like something you acquire, and your confidence is sky high. Early in your career, your skills feel totally fluent, almost automatic. But then, somewhere in your mid-career, a little hesitation starts to creep in. Explaining things gets a bit harder. And then later in life, you find yourself revisiting old ideas, and you have this shocking realization that your understanding has completely shifted. Now, that's not decline. That's the endpoint model breaking down in real time. So what we have here is this fundamental mismatch. Our expectation is that learning is like building something once, a permanent construction. But the reality is that our understanding is constantly shifting with new information and new context. We expect forgetting to be some kind of damage, an error in the system, when in reality, forgetting is an ordinary, totally expected part of how our minds work. And this brings us to the really exciting part. If that old model is just plain wrong, then what is actually going on inside our heads? What is the brain's true work? Okay, here is the big mental shift we need to make. The old models saw the brain as a container, kind of like a hard drive that you just fill up with finished knowledge files. But the new, much more accurate model sees the brain as a dynamic system. It's constantly rebalancing itself, reconfiguring its connections based on what you need right now. And this completely changes how we should think about forgetting. It is not damage. It's not information being erased forever. Forgetting is simply the system reallocating its attention and its resources. It's deprioritizing information that's no longer critical to your day-to-day life, and it does that to make room for what is. And that really is the key. Lifelong learning isn't about continuously accumulating more and more facts, like some kind of knowledge collector. It's actually about the continuous reconfiguration of the knowledge you already have, adapting it and reshaping it to fit a constantly changing world. So how can we really wrap our heads around this new, dynamic idea? Well, we need a new mental model, and a really powerful one is to start thinking of learning as a climate. Yeah, that's right. Learning is not a path you walk from a starting point to a finish line. It's the climate you live in. It's the very atmosphere that your mind breathes every single day. So, in this model, our understanding is like the weather. It forms, it holds steady for a while, and then, naturally, it shifts. Think about it. You wouldn't get mad at the sky because a sunny day eventually becomes cloudy, would you? Of course not. That's just the nature of the system. And the exact same thing is true for our understanding. Let's really compare these two models. A path is linear, it's directional, it has a very clear endpoint, and you measure your progress by how much distance you've covered. But a climate, that's cyclical, it's continuous, it's a constant state of being. And progress isn't about finishing something, it's about being properly oriented within your environment. Now, adopting this mindset has this huge emotional payoff. All of a sudden, feeling confused isn't a sign of incompetence. It's just a signal that your brain is reorganizing. Forgetting becomes an expected, normal byproduct of shifting your priorities. And having to relearn something isn't some frustrating repetition. It's a natural continuation of the process. You get to replace all that harsh self-judgment with simple realism. When you really make this shift, learning just stops feeling like a constant test of your personal worth. It's no longer about proving that you've arrived at some destination. It simply becomes a description of what it means to be a thinking person living in a complex, always changing world. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. What if learning isn't a race that you have to win? What if it's not a mountain you have to conquer? What if it's simply the climate your mind lives in, every day for your entire life?